Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something really interesting called vibe coding.
Yeah,
If you've maybe heard the term or you're curious about, building things with AI using just plain language instead of, well, code, this one's for you.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we're focusing on one main source here. It's an article from Zapier, came out May 15, 2025. The author, Maddie Osman, she's really been digging into this herself.
Right. So our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. Cut through the hype, really unpack what vibe coding actually is. We'll look at the tools that people who aren't developers are using, and maybe the best part, look at some actual real projects people have built.
Yeah, get some inspiration.
Think of it as your fast track, basically, to understanding this new area, all pulled directly from that Zapier article.
Okay, so first things first, what actually is vibe coding? Like, fundamentally?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's break it down. So the author, she describes it as building apps or tools by just telling an AI what you want.
Right.
Using natural language, like plain English, not, lines of Python or JavaScript. You just describe the idea.
And her own experience trying this stuff out, that really comes through in the article.
Yeah.
She talks about, spending months learning, building, getting frustrated. She even mentions, like, rage quitting some tools at points.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
But what seemed to really motivate her was seeing the cool things other people were making.
That totally rings true, doesn't it? When you're learning something tough, seeing what's possible at the end.
Exactly. It makes you think, okay, maybe I can do that too.
Yeah, if they built that, maybe my idea isn't so crazy.
Right. And that personal angle leads right into her look at the tools themselves. She gives a really practical take, kind of ranks them by how easy they might be if you're not coming from a coding background.
Okay, that's useful. So it's not like every tool is the same difficulty.
Not at all.
What did she put in that sort of beginner-friendly bucket for non-devs?
So first up, the familiar AI chatbots. ChatGPT, Claude. She sees those as like foundational. Great for brainstorming your prompts, messing around with basic interface ideas, even getting help when you hit an error.
Right, starting with something you might already be using, that conversational interface.
Exactly. Then there's Lovable. She specifically calls that one out for building interfaces, web pages. Apparently, you could even, deploy apps straight from it.
Oh, interesting.
And V0 is another one she flags for simple apps. The specific example was building pricing calculators. Things like that.
Simple, yeah, but really useful little tools for specific jobs.
Totally. And interestingly, Zapier agents also land in this beginner group.
Huh. Even though Zapier can do complex stuff.
Yeah, she says they're easy to get started with because you build them with natural language. But she makes the point, don't let beginner fool you. They can handle complex workflows, connecting to thousands of other apps to automate tasks.
Wow. Okay, so easy entry, high ceiling. That's quite a combo. All right, moving up a step, what's in the intermediate zone?
So intermediate tools, they give you a bit more control, maybe a bit more depth. Replit comes up here.
Right.
Described as a good balance. It has guardrails, so non-technical folks can start easily. But there's more under the hood if you want to dig deeper, or you already have some tech background.
So it can kind of grow with your skills.
That's the idea, yeah. And then there's Bolt. She positions this one more for builders or developers who want a start-to-finish solution for web and mobile apps. It supports popular tech stacks. It seems more for people comfortable with the concept of building, maybe.
Got it. More power, more structure, perhaps. Okay, and the advanced tools, I'm guessing these start looking more like traditional coding environment?
They pretty much are. Full IDEs, integrated development environments, the whole coding workshop.
Right.
Cursor is one. It's built as developer first. But the key thing is, non-developers can still use it through a chat interface.
Ah, okay. So you're still talking to it, essentially, even if the output is more code-like.
Exactly. And the other one is Windsurf. It used to be called Codium, also an IDE. She suggests this one might be a better fit for enterprise users, maybe in regulated fields.
Okay.
And she makes a really important point about these advanced ones, like Cursor and Windsurf. They're good for taking a project you started with a simpler tool and then really refining it, expanding it, or maintaining it long-term.
That makes a lot of sense. You start simple, maybe prototype, then move to a more powerful tool if needed. You're not locked in.
Right.
But okay, listing tools is one thing. Seeing what people do with them, that's where it gets exciting.
Absolutely. This is the motivating part.
The article has 10 examples, and I think going through these really shows the potential here.
Totally agree. Let's dive into what people are building.
Okay, first one, A plywood cutting visualizer. Justin Lai built this using Claude.
Yeah, this is such a great example. Super practical problem, right? You put in your wood dimensions. It tells you what pieces you'll get, how much scrap.
Simple, useful.
And she notes that using Claude artifacts lets you easily share the visual output. It really shows how these chatbots can build simple visual tools, not just text.
Okay, basic utility. And staying with simple starts, there's a template example mentioned, a resume scoring agent using Zapier Agent.
Right. This shows you don't always have to start from scratch. You can grab a template, then tweak it using vibe coding, that natural language. This agent scores resumes against job descriptions. But the source highlights the real kicker. Zapier Agents can connect to like 8,000 plus other apps and run tasks automatically in the background.
Oh, connecting the AI part to actually doing things in other apps, that's powerful.
Big step, yeah.
Okay, next up, a portfolio website. Michael Lembo built his using Lovable.
Yep. This showcases Lovable strength for straightforward front-end stuff websites, simple web apps.
Right.
And his portfolio apparently included a custom chatbot that can answer questions about him, which is pretty cool. The author actually suggests checking out his blog post about it.
Okay, so good for personal sites, online presence.
Yeah.
Now, this next one sounds really interesting. An admin for Supabase, built by Andy Keel and Kyle Ledbetter, using Lovable, V0, and Cursor. That's quite the toolkit mix.
It is. And it's kind of meta, right? They're using vibe coding tools to build better tools for people using AI and back-end services. Supabase is like a back-end platform database, user logins, that sort of thing.
So they're building an easier way to manage Supabase?
Yep.
Using these vibe coding tools?
Pretty much. Building admin panels or interfaces for Supabase developers.
Yeah.
And their workflow is interesting, too. They use Lovable and V0 to prototype quickly.
Okay.
Then they switch over to Cursor to refine things, get it production ready. They apparently use this same process for actual enterprise clients.
Wow. Okay, that's serious application. Taking vibe coding into client work for businesses. Very cool. All right, moving to something maybe a bit more fun. Lambo levels. Built by Joe Frabata with ChatGPT and Lovable.
Yeah, this one sounds fun. Described as a quirky app for crypto folks, it's not really a portfolio tracker. More like a way to visualize potential crypto gains, the moonshot scenarios.
Ah, okay. Purely speculative fun.
Exactly. And his process was interesting. He used ChatGPT first to help him figure out the best prompts, the best way to describe what he wanted.
Ah, like a prompt assistant.
Yeah, before feeding those prompts into Lovable to actually build the app. Smart way to work.
Definitely. Okay, and the author, Maddie Osmond, she built her own project too called Taste. Used Lovable for the interface and Cursor.
Right, her personal project, she wanted a tool just to keep track of favorite meals recipes. Simple idea.
Yeah.
But then she added a social layer so you could share dietary needs or allergies with friends. Made it more useful for planning group meals, stuff like that. She said it was fun to build and actually useful to her.
The classic scratch your own itch kind of project. Love those. Okay, then we have Matt Medeiros. He built several apps related to WordPress using Replit and Bolt.
Yeah, he's well known in the WordPress world, and it sounds like he used vibe coding to create tools that sort of enhance his reputation there, provide value to that community.
Smart. What kind of apps?
Well, things like a web app to find podcasts about podcasts called Podcast Power, another called Pulse for tracking WordPress news, an Explorer tool for the WordPress API.
Okay, niche tools for a specific audience.
Exactly. And even an interactive game for a popular WordPress plugin, Gravity Forms, using vibe coding to engage his audience.
A very strategic use case. Okay, next. An SEO calculator. Tim Metz built this with Cursor.
This one's pure business utility. It was designed as the lead magnet for his marketing agency, Animals.
Ah, right. Give away a useful tool to attract potential clients.
Precisely. Prospects use the calculator. It answers their basic SEO questions, hopefully moves them closer to becoming a client. Practical marketing.
Makes sense. And then a couple more really creative independent projects. Mixcard. Alfred Megley built that with Cursor.
Yeah, this one's really unique. He takes Spotify playlists and turns them into actual physical postcards.
What? That's wild.
Isn't it? Just a great example of using these tools for something totally creative, not necessarily business or utility focused.
Definitely pushes the boundaries.
Right.
And the last one, Settle, built by Robinson Gregg, also using Cursor.
This was described as just a fun way to send a voice memo to your future self.
Ah, okay. Another really personal, creative use case. So looking across all 10 of these, wow, you've got everything from like super practical things like plywood cutters and SEO calculators, to portfolio sites, complex admin tools for developers, niche community apps, personal organizers,
All right.
and then these really imaginative projects like playlist postcards and messages to your future self.
It's an incredibly broad range, isn't it?
It really is. It just drives home the point that this isn't just for one type of thing. And crucially, you don't have to be a seasoned developer to start making something real.
That really feels like the core message coming out of the source material. The sheer variety demonstrates the power these tools put into more people's hands. It doesn't matter if it's for personal use, a creative whim, a business need, or even, like we saw, enterprise stuff. Vibe coding lowers the barrier. You just describe it.
Okay, so we've looked at what vibe coding means, the different kinds of tools out there, from easy starting points to more advanced IDEs.
Right.
And we've seen these fantastic, diverse examples of actual projects.
And that core idea from the source really sticks. Vibe coding can help you build whatever's on your mind. Simple as that.
Yeah. And I liked that encouraging bit the author included about learning, something like, if it breaks, that just means you're learning something. Probably.
Huh? Yeah, that's a good attitude to have with any new tech, right?
Yeah.
Expect things to break. It's part of the process.
Absolutely. And, thinking about that Zapier Agents example again, the idea that you can use natural language to build agents that can tap into your data across all the different apps you use and just handle tasks for you autonomously, all because you described what you wanted. That feels, well, pretty significant.
It really is. That accessibility, being able to create those kinds of automated helpers just by describing them, which is what vibe coding enables, it opens up a fascinating question for you, the listener, to think about.
Yeah.
If you could build an AI agent just by explaining what it should do, in plain English, knowing it could work across your digital life, what would you build?
Yeah.
What task would you automate? What problem would you solve for yourself? That's the kind of power these vibe coding tools are starting to unlock.